and we're back for another week of the Blue Corner. Week 14, who would have thought we made it this far? Today I'm joined by David Francis. He's a mixed martial artist. He's had a couple of boxing fights along the way. Fights out of Gracie's and also fights out of Stand Strong Boxing. I'd like to welcome you and see what you've been doing during this pandemic. How have you been?
Yeah, been good. Just keeping busy with all the coronavirus, what's been happening. Working, new father. Just crazy times and just hard to get fights going on this year. So it's good to come in and talk about it.
Nice. So obviously, you know, most people had experienced their first lockdown. You obviously run a construction business, which I guess is considered an essential worker. So how was that first lockdown for you? Was there any sort of restrictions for you, or did you kind of like just go full steam ahead, I guess?
Yeah, when it came out that there was going to be a lockdown, everyone was, for us, we were worried about what was going to happen. But when they announced that construction could still go ahead, they sort of announced that we could do 7 days a week. So it was just like even more work for us to do, and we're really busy during the time. So we're very lucky to still have a job. I know a lot of people are out on unemployment and whatever, but I was very lucky to keep working, and nothing really changed other than training really stopped because the gyms were closed.
But I guess you're in the perfect business for that too, right? Because even though the gyms had to close, I dare say working in constructions keeps you pretty fit.
Yeah. Yes and no. Like,
this is probably where you're going to tell me that you're a floor manager and no, you don't actually do any of the heavy lifting.
No, like I was on site heavily. I was on site a lot, actually doing a lot of physical work. But like, I don't know what it is. It's just like the culture of the work sites. You end up eating bad food. You're not really you're not keeping fit. You're just any chance you can get to eat something bad, you will, especially with a group of boys. And
it just means that you're employing the wrong people. I mean, you should give some of the guys from your gym a job, and that way you can grapple at lunchtime.
Yeah, if, you know what, you're right. I should have given it to them, but most of the people we work with is my family, so I'd have to sack my own cousins and stuff.
Hey, business is business, right?
You're right, man. You're right.
So, obviously, before the pandemic, I want to congratulate you. You obviously, we'll go through your personal life first.
Yeah.
You recently got married.
Yeah.
Your 1 year is actually coming up.
Yeah. Within a couple of weeks, a year married.
So you were pretty lucky to squeeze that one. I mean, no, it was last August. So, I mean, look, the pandemic started, say, November. For us, probably more January, February. So, I mean, you got it in pretty quick. But I guess on that, how has the transition been? So you get married. Did you have a honeymoon?
Yeah, we had a honeymoon. It's funny because we found out that my wife was pregnant on the honeymoon, and she started to get like that morning sickness and stuff. So we didn't really get to enjoy our honeymoon that much. So we were out went to Hawaii, stayed there for like 5 days, but then we went to Vegas as well, and we're supposed to go out there like partying and whatever. And she was really sick. Like, she didn't get out of her bed for the whole week we were there, and it was like the middle of like a Labor Day weekend, and it was like people out everywhere. It was partying and whatever, and I just every time I walk past the lobby and have to go straight up to the room and see her and make sure she's all right. So it was a bit of a down to the honeymoon, but it was the best news, like when we found out she was pregnant. So it was bittersweet.
So I guess I would say Hawaii is definitely a honeymoon kind of location.
Yeah.
Why Vegas? Isn't that something that you'd normally do for your bachelor party or something like that? Like, where did Vegas come into it? And I guess also while you were at Vegas, did you get any sessions in the gyms over there? Because there's obviously so many.
I would have loved to get some sessions in, but it was just too much. Just worrying about if she's all right and whatever, trying to be a good husband. I chose Vegas. I guess I was there maybe like 5 or 6 years before, and I always liked it. I always wanted to go back, and she hasn't really been overseas much. So I don't know. We're just somewhere fun to go in America while we're there. Like, Hawaii is not far, but yeah, it was turned out to not work out for the best anyway. So it didn't matter where we were.
Okay, and so so you got married. You then had your honeymoon, and then obviously the pandemic struck. I guess that was a whole change of scene. I mean, I guess you're a little luckier because, as you said, you've been able to continue to work. And I only say that because I know some people, right? They're like, and this has got nothing to do with whether it's a good or a bad relationship, right? But like when you're in each other's hair 24/7, right? It does put a little strain on the relationship. So I guess you kind of got lucky.
Oh, okay, yeah.
in the sense that you were still able to go to work, because you would seriously go from wedding to honeymoon period to kind of being stuck in hill, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but I guess you were kind of lucky in that sense. When did the child arrive?
Like he was born April the 4th, which is like mid lockdown pandemic. I couldn't have anyone in my family come and see him. They almost didn't let my mum in the hospital. She came one day to see him for the first time. She actually, like, she's from Adelaide, so her family are all there still. Only her mum has met him, so she came on her own for a couple of weeks, actually for a month, and then she had to go and quarantine back in Adelaide for 2 weeks before she was allowed back out again. So her dad still hasn't met him, our whole family still hasn't met him, so it's affecting our family a lot with with seeing him and even christening him.
And did it affect with the whole birth of things, like, because I know I've read like some articles like in the States and stuff where they were like, if the father, for instance, wanted to go home to get like fresh set of clothes, they were like, if you leave, you can't come back in, kind of thing. Like, was it to that extent over here, like, or was it just like a normal birth? I mean, it's your first, right?
Yeah.
So you probably don't have anything to compare it to, but like, was there anything that you felt like, okay, this is because of the pandemic?
Yeah, no, definitely it was different because like I've had a lot of family born in, I've come from a big Lebanese family that every time there's a kid born, there's about 100 people at the hospital to come visit him or her. So this time round was empty, and you don't see the balloons and the gifts and the enjoyment. It was just like me and her, sort of good in a way. We get to like learn how to become parents and learn how to take care of a baby, but as well it would have been good to have people around. I was once or twice asked, like, questioned about what am I doing at this hospital, but I was never not allowed in. Like, I was always able to be there for her.
But was there any sort of extra precautions that they took? Like, were you allowed to be in the room for the delivery, or were they like you have to wait in the waiting room, or like was there precautions, or no? It was just
like a hospital is always very clean, so there were extra precautions about just who comes in and not. I was able to be there for the birth. I was able to be there.
Nice. And so when you say you haven't had the family around to kind of learn how to be parents and you've had to do it on yourself, what's been, I guess, the biggest learning curve for you?
You always hear it, but like sleep is, it's especially the first month is like, it's the worst. You get 1 hour sleep every few hours, maybe if you're lucky. We've been lucky that he's been a good boy. He's like he sleeps well, and the first 6 weeks for my wife was probably like the most enduring and sleep deprived you ever be.
And I guess that's where you're unlucky that you had to work, right? Because in a normal scenario, I would say, well, if you're both locked at home, you can kind of take shifts on waking up and stuff. But you having to work that whole time,
yeah,
it really does then put the onus back on her because you are still working, right?
Yeah, I did a couple of weeks with her at home in the beginning. It was good that her mum could come and help. So as soon as her mum came, I was off to work. So I was sort of happy that I could go to work. She knows that.
I was just about to say, let's hope she's not watching this, but it's all good.
She'll watch it, but she knows what's happening.
Nice. And so obviously the gym's closed, as you said before, and I mean we'll get onto your little hobbies on the side and stuff like that. But I see that you set up like your washing line to kind of like to keep sparring or doing. And the only thing I will say that like for people that don't know, check out Dave's TikTok. He's got plenty of good videos up there to watch, and one of them is you taking it out on the washing line, which I thought was kind of cool. The only thing I will say is it would have actually been a little bit better had you had some clothes hanging off that line, and you give it a spin, right? So that way you actually work on your head movement as well. But yeah, was that something that you do often, or is that something that you've just set up for your TikTok?
It's got nothing to do with my TikTok. I just wanted to upload it. But I saw there's this guy I follow, Bazooka Joe. He's a kickboxer, ex-kickboxer in Glory. He done the same sort of thing, but on his post for his boxing ring. And just sort of an idea if you don't have a bag, and I don't have a bag at home. So I had some pads there, and I thought, you know what, it might be a good idea to hit this. You know, it's solid. It's can move around, at least do something while I'm on lockdown.
And would you take it as far as say you're Tony Ferguson and start throwing leg kicks at the steel pole, or you're not that game?
I didn't upload that one. I tried to kick it, and it killed, man. Fucking killed.
Oh God. So anyway, so obviously, as I said, I when I knew you were coming in, I thought, you know what, I'm gonna have a little dig into your thing, and I did find your TikTok account. You know what? I guess. Was it you that got into TikTok on your own, or was there some influence there? Because I see that you get the family, whether I think it was your niece,
or my little cousin,
or your cousin.
Yeah.
You had a few episodes. I know your wife gets in on it.
Yeah.
So what's the kind of deal?
It wasn't my wife that got me into it. I don't know. Like I just saw it one day. I saw a few funny videos, and I thought, you know, I'll create an account. And my missus used to give me shit. She's like, that's for like teenagers, that's for kids and stuff. And I'm like, but no, there's like older people on it. There's adults and other, you know, there's funny stuff on it. And she used to always give it to me. And then now she's created her own account after all that.
So is there a bit of competition now between the two of you?
Nah, like she's much better than me because she's a girl. Like she puts up one video, gets like hundreds of thousands of views. And because I'm a bloke, I'm getting not that much.
It is a bit like that though, right?
Yeah.
Like sometimes like I do see posts and I'm like, how's this even generating the amount of views that it is? Yeah. And it's like sometimes you're like, you know?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know how it works. There's some videos that are so random on that app that get heaps of views, but like it's good fun anyway. I don't really care too much about it. It's just good to have a laugh, and especially on the lockdown, like it keep you busy.
And that's the best way to be. I mean, I always say you have to be able to laugh at yourself, right? Like you can't take life too serious. And as you say, especially during the lockdown, like it's kind of like, are you going to sit on the couch and just watch TV, or you know, you're going to do something? And the way I see it is, it's kind of like a little creative outlet. Yeah. I will have to ask you though, like when you guys do your dance ones, how much practice goes into those? Because I mean, like when you did it, my sister's a dancer, you know, and I showed her your rock star one. I don't know how it goes, right? And like you guys got it, right? Like you actually get it. So is there much rehearsal that goes into these things, or is it just spare of the moment?
Yeah, it's because I don't think I can dance that well, so it does take a lot of effort. Probably other people would be able to do it better than me and get it quicker. But especially when you're doing it with a partner, it's just like, man, I don't know how people do this. And it does take a bit of time, but like, we don't try to perfect it to get it. We do what we can. Just don't want to spend too much time on it, otherwise we'll kill ourselves.
And it is hard. And the only experience, I don't have TikTok, by the way.
Should get it.
Well, I don't know now because, you know, they're talking about that America have now put this whole thing out that they want to ban it. Australia's been talking about banning it just because of the information getting back to the Chinese government. And now, obviously, I don't know if it was this week or last week, Instagram's come and tried to do a knockoff version of it with Reels. So really, it'll be interesting to see if that actually takes effect, because when you think of Instagram stories, that was kind of a rip-off to Snapchat, right? And it kind of worked. People really got onto the stories thing. So, and at the moment, I am seeing a lot of Reels come up in the feed, but I just don't know if it's a fad or if it will actually generate some steam. But I think with the fact that they're talking about banning TikTok, it could actually be perfect timing for Instagram to capture that market.
Yeah, I guess if they ban it, then people would turn to it. Like, if there's nothing else to do, though, I don't know if you have to do, have to make a TikTok or whatever, make a video. But I'm sure if people not on TikTok, they'll just move to that. But I don't understand what the thing about banning it is anyway. Like, who cares if China's got information on my dance moves? I don't really get it.
I guess that's what it is. And like, look, it's the same like when they released the COVID Safe app, right? It was the same thing. Everyone was like, they're trying to track us. They're trying to track us.
Yeah.
And I was like, granted, I haven't downloaded the COVID Safe app.
Okay.
So I haven't done that. But I was kind of like, what are we worried about? Yeah. Right? It was kind of like, if they want to track you, right? Every time you use your credit card, every time you use your mobile phone,
that's right.
I mean, if you're gonna get tracked, they're gonna track you anyway. That was my first like train of thought, right? Then my second train of thought is like, what are you doing?
Yeah, that's right.
That you're that worried that they're tracking you, because there's no one. They're not going to track every single person on the planet. So you must be doing something wrong, right? For them to even want to track you. I guess in the TikTok space, what it is where people say, well, Facebook tracks you, and they kind of do. You have these conversations, and then suddenly these ads pop up, and you're like, that's just freaky. Like, I was just talking about that, and now you're advertising.
Yeah, that happens a lot,
right?
Happens a lot.
So it happens with Instagram. I mean, Facebook and Instagram are the same thing, but like, it does happen. Google listens to you. I think the difference with the TikTok is that they're saying, obviously, the way the Chinese government is, like, the American government, for instance, don't have access to the Facebook data.
Yeah. Right.
I'm sure they could get to it, but theoretically they don't. And I think that's the major difference. Like, if TikTok was an Australian company or an American company, or I don't even think it'd be talked about, right? I honestly think it is just because it's their China. Government. Yeah, and it's their government and the way they run, because they have a lot of control over there, right? Like, obviously they, even like what we get on a Google search, and then you go over there and try to Google it, they'll literally control what you see and what you don't, right?
Yeah. I think Facebook is even banned in China, so they have their own Facebook.
Yes, I've heard about that. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I have heard about it, right? And it's kind of, once again, as you said, like, if they really want to watch you dance,
like the COVID Safe app thing, like people think they're like, all right, you might be an important person. Everyone's important, but do you think you're that important that somebody's going to be chasing you and following where you are every single moment, or wanting to know where you are? Like you're not James Bond. Like, we're just normal people. What are you trying to hide? But like, I downloaded the app. I didn't care. Like,
but even if you were important, they're still not. I mean, do you really reckon that there's someone sitting there going, okay, let's see what Leonardo DiCaprio's doing? Like, they don't care, right? Like,
I don't care.
The only time I think they would care is if you're doing something wrong, right? And if you're doing something wrong, like say you're conspiring to rob a bank or something like that, they're going to track your phone anyway. They don't need an app to do that. But what I did find funny is when they had no success or little success of people downloading the app, Apple actually integrated the tracing app within the latest iOS.
Okay. I didn't know that.
You didn't know that? So all of a sudden,
you download it anyway.
yeah. So I'll show it to you after, right? So all of a sudden, from one day to another, I forgot which update it was, but it was when you downloaded the latest update. When you go into the health app, there was a COVID-19 tracker in the health app, right?
They got us anyway.
And that's what I mean. So at the end of the day, they're going to do it anyway. So I really, but once again, I was kind of like, it's kind of weird that they're asking us. And that, I guess that was the debate, because people are like, oh, but you're giving them permission to. And I'm like, yeah, but they're going to do it anyway. And then when you didn't give them permission to, they did go ahead and do it anyway. So what was the whole point of doing it? But having said that, because I am interested, so you've downloaded the app?
Yeah, I downloaded the app. Thought it was best thing to do. You want to get out of lockdown sooner. They said people download the app, will track people, less coronavirus. You know, whenever it stops, it stops. You know, now they've got another outbreak because of some people in Melbourne, and then no one gets tested. They just go and, you know, spread it. And
so I have to ask you, because I know at the beginning they were saying that the app wasn't functioning correctly and things like that. Have you had any updates from that app? Like, have you ever had a message from it going, okay, you have come into contact, and or has that app just been sitting on your phone and nothing's actually occurred?
I actually never get any notifications about that I have come into contact. I just get notifications when it says you've not come into contact with anyone in the last 48 hours or some stuff like that. So
you do get regular updates?
I get updates. Not regular, it just like comes out randomly, like after a week or two, and they'll say, you haven't encountered anyone in the last 48 hours. And it's, what about the time before that? I didn't realize I have encountered anyone at all. And I still don't know anyone that has had the virus myself. But I've heard a few stories of people that have got the virus, and some say it's pretty harsh. Some say it's not that bad.
Well, I think that's what it is. It affects everyone differently, right? First they're saying it doesn't affect kids at all, and then young people only if they have a pre-existing condition. But I mean, they're closing schools left, right, and centre at the moment. So the whole original theory of it not affecting kids is obviously now kind of like wrong, right? And I do also think that you probably being a new father as well, it probably led to a decision as well to download the app in that sense as well, right? Because you've got that extra little bit to kind of worry about.
Yeah, even in the whole lead up, like I had a sort of a feeling that they were going to close everything down. It was maybe like a week or two before that I decided with the guys I was training with, I'm like, look boys, I got my wife's pregnant, heavily pregnant. I'm just going to wait and kick back from the training for a bit. And then it was like within a week later, they just shut everything down. So, I want to be responsible, especially like pregnant women, low immune system, babies, not that not that immune even when they're born. So, had a bit of a layoff training until I could make sure he's, growing and strong and even now he's still a baby, but like I still got to return to normal life a bit. And you never know. I sanitize like crazy, make sure I don't shake people's hands too often, and got to do the right thing just in case. You never know. You never know.
Well, we all kind of became germaphobes for a little bit, and I think it's the same thing. Like originally, I was really kind of surprised when they were making such a big deal about washing your hands. And I'm like, well,
shouldn't you do it anyway?
Aren't we washing our hands anyway? But I kind of feel like now people are starting to relax, because there was a point where it was like, and look, even myself, that every time I walk through the kitchen, I'd be like, all right, sanitize, right? And you ended up like sanitizing your hands probably
all day,
right? 15, 20 times a day, where now I reckon, once again, it's, if I use the bathroom or if I'm about to eat something, I'll sanitize, but it's not like I'm doing it, and I mean, that's the whole problem though, like as well, because now we're looking at, will there be a potential outbreak again? Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I have this debate nearly every second day with people about, you know, we're sweet, we're in Sydney. And I always say, yeah, but Melbourne was sweet until they weren't, right? Like, and that's the thing. Like, you know, at the moment we're sweet, but like tomorrow, the day after that, something could break out, and then all of a sudden we're not sweet anymore. Like, I just find it so funny that people are like, yeah, that's Melbourne, that's not us. We've got it under control. I'm like, Melbourne had it under control.
Yeah.
They had it under control.
They had the most testing for a while. And
right. I mean, even during that first wave, they were doing better than us.
Yeah.
Right. So they had it under control. Granted, that whole quarantine hotel thing was a total.
Yeah. The security guards broken the.
Right. Like,
yes.
Like, I mean, that was a major flaw. But I mean, what I'm saying is they had it under control. And like most things, you know, it's the same. Like, I mean, I don't read too much into it, but when people talk about conspiracy theories, and I'm like, it's a conspiracy theory until it becomes factual. Once it becomes factual, it's no longer conspiracy, right? Like, and because I always find it funny when people say that. Like, it's like, and I say the same thing here is, yes, it's always going to be in control until it's out of control. There's a tipping point. Right.
Yeah.
And that's the way I see it, as I say, with the conspiracies as well. It's like, yes, if you don't have any facts to prove it, it's a conspiracy.
Yeah.
But as soon as facts start coming in, then it's no longer a conspiracy,
true,
right? Yeah. There's that tipping point. But look, let's get back to you, man. Like, I want to talk about, obviously, your fight career, how it all began, you know. When did you start fighting? You know, how young were you? What got you into? And also, I guess you say you've got an MMA career and a boxing career. Did you start one before the other? Did you start both at the same time? Like, yeah, where did your journey begin?
Yeah, so I played rugby league my whole life, as you do in Australia. So
let me guess before. Sorry, I have to interrupt, and it's only because I've had two guests on already, and both of them played rugby, and they said they got into MMA or boxing because one was a boxer, one's an MMA.
Yeah, to
keep fit during the off season.
Man, you got to get other people on this show because it's the same fucking story. Like I was doing well. I didn't. As a young kid, I wasn't that good. I was very small, and I've hit puberty really late. Like I was maybe like 16 years old, and I was still tiny. And I finally started to excel as I became an adult. I just shot up and got bigger and more athletic and stuff like that. So I was trying really hard to make the rep teams, and I had a couple trials with some like under 20s and things like that, but I was a bit overlooked. So I wanted to, after a season ending, I wanted to keep fit, learn a few things. I didn't know anything about martial arts at all. So I thought, you know what, maybe they'll teach me some wrestling. It'll be good for footy, and don't be lazy in the off season. Signed up at the gym around the corner from my house, and Rob happened to be there, Rob Whittaker. And I just stayed doing it. I ended up trying to play footy and train MMA together in one season. I left footy, the team I was playing with, about halfway through the year, and just like wanted to pursue fighting. It was pretty easy for me to leave. Just like I fell in love with the fighting sport, and I was falling out of love with footy because I played it my whole life, and I really loved it. But then it was just becoming a turn off with, you know, selections, and even in my own team, like I was a really good player in the team, and I wasn't getting the time I needed or the position I wanted, and just like having fights in the games and stuff. And I'm like, why do I need to fight on a footy field? Why don't I just do it for real? So yeah, just stuck to that training, took on some couple of amateur fights, and I think it was within a couple of years from my first fight, I went pro. Looking back, I probably wish I had more amateur fights, even just like boxing and kickboxing and stuff. I had no, like you said, pro boxing. I had no amateur boxing at all. I've still had no kickboxing fights. I had 3 total MMA amateur fights.
So let's quickly track back though. So keeping fit, and I understand what you're talking about. Obviously, the thing. I used to play basketball before I got into the MMA side of things, and it was kind of the same thing. It was never about the position play or whatever, but I always found like the accountability was what it was for me. Like, look, love team sports. I still watch it to this day. But the thing that got to me with mixed martial arts was you're the one who's accountable, right? And I mean that by like, if say your team loses, all of a sudden people start pointing fingers. Oh, it was him. No one wants to take accountability, right? Like, if you hit that shot or if you didn't kick it out or I don't know, like people start pointing fingers, right? And the thing I love about mixed martial arts, it's the same even training, right? Like it's like you turn up when you turn up.
Yeah.
Right? It's on you. It's 100% on you. And depending on I mean, you need a good team around you because you need training partners and sparring partners. But for instance, as you said, you train with Rob. Rob doesn't turn up one day.
Yeah.
You're going to have Jacob there or you're going to have someone else there, right? Like the bottom line is it's a sport that as much as you need your team, at the end of the day, it's on you. And I love that about mixed martial arts. And it's the same, even, I mean, I don't take it as serious as you. I still train now, but, there's weeks that I'll go 4 times a week. There's weeks, depending on work, that I'll show up once that week, I mean, I try to go as often as I can, and once again, I'm not a pro, so I don't have to have that commitment. But what I'm trying to say is, like, it really is on you, and you don't have to feel like you're letting anyone down or anyone's letting you down. And the same thing, once you hit the cage, like, yes, your coaches are there and they're giving you tips but your losses are your losses. Your wins are your wins. Like it's you, right? And I personally love that about the mixed martial arts side. But I'm going off on a bit of a tangent right now. But what I wanted to ask you, and I asked this with the other guys that played rugby, why mixed martial arts? Because like the whole point of it is, I want to stay fit during the off season. But there's 101 ways to stay fit. So why mixed martial arts?
Look, I don't even know why exactly, but all I could say is, like, with the team I was playing with at the time, there was a guy in the team that was training at the gym already. So I don't know why he was doing it, but he was already training at the gym that I went out and signed up at. And like I said before, it was about I was thinking like maybe I'll learn some grappling and wrestling techniques good for footy. I can put it into my game in footy, and it'll be like something I can commit to. That it's just I'll go sign up at a class, do the training, I would rock up and then get trained, and they're the one controlling my fitness and whatever. I can't just go to a gym and run on a treadmill or go to the park and just go running for the sake of it. I thought it would be good to join a sport like this. I don't know. I used to watch the UFC, and I used to always think, I would never do it. And then it wasn't until I actually started doing it that I thought, I can actually do this, because I was immediately I was good at doing it. Like I felt like I could actually go somewhere with it. And yeah, I don't know why I chose MMA to help my footy, but it just like, I just, he was that guy in my team was the path to that.
Yeah.
And then I didn't look back since. I signed up with my brother, my older brother. He only did it for a few months, and I just stayed. Yeah.
And always with Gracie's?
Sorry, that wasn't Gracie's. That was PMA in Padstow. So that was the gym I was at for a long time. I was there for like 6 years or 7 years. And when Rob and Jacob and Izzy, we all made the move to Gracie at Smeaton Grange, I followed with everyone.
Okay, nice. And now Gracie's, are they predominantly just a jiu-jitsu I guess academy, or do you do your wrestling or like, because normally when you put the name Gracie, it is predominantly jiu-jitsu, right?
Yeah, so I think the actual franchise in Australia of Gracie is all jiu-jitsu, or for the most part, and then Alex and Fab, they opened up the gym in Smeaton Grange, and they wanted to change it up a bit, and I think it was more to suit our team as well. Like they were training Rob already. They had a wrestling class. I think it's not there anymore, but it's a lot more fighting oriented gym than it is just a traditional jiu-jitsu, and they've started an MMA fundamentals class. Me and the boys do our own little private kickboxing there a couple nights a week, and we try to do as much MMA sort of stuff as well, but it's not really open to the public, like to come and sign up for an MMA fighters class. It's just like something that you would get invited to.
And has it got anything to do with Gracie Barra, or no?
No,
Totally two different brands.
They're actually separate brands.
Cool. So, do you remember? Obviously, you said you took a couple of amateur fights. Do you remember your first fight, and then do you remember your first pro fight?
Yeah, I remember all the fights. I remember like my first pro fight, my first amateur fight. Sorry, it was down in Wollongong, where it's called the Wollongong Wars. It happened so fast. The whole thing, like we went and drove down there, stayed at a hotel and whatever. But I never even weighed in against the guy I was going to fight. So I don't know. I think maybe he was from down there, and so we had weigh-ins like where I live up in Sydney, and then I met him in the cage. I never really got to square off against him, see what he was looking like or anything. Even before the fight, I never even knew what he looked like.
So what was that experience like? Like, obviously, being your first fight, do you think it worked in your favour not squaring off, or would you have preferred to square off? Like, do you remember the nerves and like, what was the feeling like on your first fight?
Yeah, I would like to have met him beforehand, because just to think like, I know I won the fight, but imagine it was someone like, I don't even know the build of the guy, what he could do to me, or what, you know what I mean? Like, it was just I just happened to go there and clash with the guy, So it was like, I remember walking to the cage thinking, what the hell am I doing? Like, why am I doing this? And I just it all happened like that. It actually finished in 12 seconds. I shot a double leg on him, and he landed awkwardly and popped his shoulder, and that was it. It was done. And home time. See you later.
Crazy. And so, was your first pro fight? Was that the one against Theo?
Yeah.
Which is a tough fight for a first fight, right? Because I give Theo a lot of props as well. I mean, he ended up becoming a champ and stuff like that. He's a solid.
Yeah.
Fighter, right?
Actually, he's been training with us recently, so we ended up training together now. But we fought at Penrith. Oh, sorry, St Mary's Band Club for Gladiators, and I missed weight a couple kilos. It was my first time trying to get to welterweight. I was always been a middleweight. It was probably like the worst experience of my life, like doing that weight cut. And then his coach wanted me to weigh in the next day at a certain weight, and I just, okay, whatever. So I had to I was still dehydrated on the day of the fight, which looking back, I wish I never did it. But the fighter in me just wanted to fight.
And do you know what went wrong with your weight cut there? Like, looking back on it now, and I always say with weight cuts, and especially if you're trying to make a new weight, like, there's a science to it.
Yeah.
Right? But looking back now and knowing how you make weight now, do you know where you went wrong?
Yeah, I was way too big to go to welterweight that soon. I actually, the next few fights, maybe the next 4 fights, were at middleweight, because I wasn't ready yet. I was not ready. And then I used to look up to Rob for how he used to cut weight, and he used to cut a lot of weight. And I was like, yeah, he can do that at that weight. I can do it at this weight. And then I was 84 kilos on the day of the weight cut, and I had to make 77. And after water loading, so I was already dehydrated from water loading, and then missed weight by I was in the sauna for about 8 hours, and I lost about 5.5 kilos or something like that. And we were running late for the weigh-in. We actually still ran late. It was all like a blur. I couldn't see. I was tripping. I almost got run over in the car park on the way in, and then I squared off. I remember looking up at him and like just blurry. I couldn't even see him properly. That's how bad I was.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, it's amazing. And another one that always amazed me, which I know you fought as well, is Rick Alchin.
Yeah.
Mate, I don't even know how that guy makes weight. Like, he's just a unit, right? I'm like, every time I see him, I'm like, he's not going to make it, but he somehow makes it. But like, I have no idea what's going on there. Like, his bones must be like, made out of like aluminium, because like he's so, I don't know, like you just look at his frame and you're like, there's no way he makes that weight, and he does.
The time that I fought him, actually, I thought it was the leanest or the smallest I've ever seen him, because every other time I've seen him, I saw him last year and he was huge. He was so big. Like, he's big for a light heavyweight. He's big. So like I'm a big welterweight too, so I wasn't too phased. But yeah, he's probably like one of the strongest guys I've fought.
And you beat him, right? I think from memory, did you knock him out? No.
Yeah. I landed a nice head kick, and was able to finish him. Like, he was backed up, he was wobbly and so I was just chasing him, and then I think I dropped him with a right hand in the end, but it was after a few knees and elbows and everything. So it was a left head kick that shook him, and then I was able to chase him down, and that was one of the best wins I've probably had.
Which was going to be one of my questions. Was going to ask you, like, I mean, you fought for Brace, you fought for XFC, Super Fight League. Then there was the Gladiators, which Gladiators is a new one to me. I don't actually know. Is that a regional one or?
Yeah, it's run by Tama Tahuna.
Yep.
He runs the show. It's not new. It's been around for a while. It's just maybe a bit more lower key than you might recognise. I don't know.
But is it based here in Sydney?
Yeah, it's St Mary's.
St Mary's. Okay.
I think you're talking about the maybe the MMA by the Bay. That was one that I fought in.
Yep. That was the other one. I was kind of like, I that one I haven't heard of either. So that must have been I guess a little bit of a smaller show as well.
Yeah, that one was in Geelong in Melbourne. These guys, kickboxers that run it, Steve Burke and Steve Moxon. No, sorry, Johnny Burke and Steve Moxon. They're really nice guys.
Moxon, yeah.
Stone Cold Steve Moxon.
That's the one.
Yeah, they were really nice guys. I like going to that show. That was actually, out of all of the fights I've had, that was one of my favourites, because it was nice to go away to Geelong. And the guy was from Melbourne. I was a big underdog there, and like they brought me in for the main event, and it was a good show. I had a few people come down from here too, so it was really good to be on that show. They were going to do another one, and it never came through. I don't know why.
Okay, nice. So I guess is there any other ones that you fought for? That's the organisations.
I think that's it. Brace, Superfight.
Yep.
XFC.
MMA
by the Bay and Gladiators. So
out of all of those, looking back at your fights, your record's 8-5. What has been like your most satisfying fight? And when I ask you that, I don't mean like, because of the win or when you look back and you're like, man, that was my fight, like as in from start to finish. Could be like you had the best camp leading up to it, or like you had. When you look at it, what is the highlight fight for you?
Yeah, going back to that, the one in Geelong, the MMA by the Bay, I fought Sam Hayward. So what happened at the time is he had just beaten Theo on Brace for their tournament, and So he's in contention for the tournament for the title. He was supposed to fight Rick Auchen, and he's booked in like October, November or something. And then they asked me if I wanted to fight him in September, and I'm like thinking like they're looking past me heaps because they're booking in 2 fights in a row. Like I would never do that. I would never book in 2 fights. One fight, focus on that. We're in the next one. But so he was in contention for the title there, and so I was like, yeah, let's do the fight. I went there. Camp was normal. Like this is the first time I actually made weight for welterweight, by the way, as well. So I took the fight at welterweight. I finally made it, cut well. I was in really good shape. I had a 3-3 record at the time, so I already knew that the promoters messaging me, they thought I was a good build-up fight, maybe. The people watching, like himself, like I don't think he knew what I was capable of. I think they just saw my record and thought maybe, you know what, like he's not that good, we can beat him or whatever. So I go into that fight and it was like immaculate performance. Like it was one of my best performances. I went out there, I hit him with this left knee that cut his head, split his head open, and then I kept chipping at it for the next round and a half. By the end of the second round, the doctor came in between rounds and stopped the fight because his cut was too big. They reckon that you could see his head, like you could see his skull.
Actually, I saw that on your record, the doctor stoppage.
Yeah, doctor stoppage
after round 2, right?
Yeah, after round 2. Yeah, like I was getting ready. I was sucking them in to take on the third round, and then they just stopped it. And it was like, some people in the crowd were being a bit salty about it, but like. I came there and I put on a really good show. There was a lot of other people that I gained fans from that they at first they weren't on my side, and then like I was getting booed into the crowd saying you got no chance and things like that, and then I walked out there with a great win, a lot of respect from everyone, respect from him, and but so that fight put him out of his title contention for Rick, and then. Instead of giving me a shot, they give it to Theo, and then Theo goes and wins it.
Crazy.
So yeah.
So with that, because I know Brace tried to change it up for a little bit and do that, you just mentioned it before, the tournament format. Are you a fan of that? Like, would you prefer to fight in, I guess, tournaments, or do you like the one which is the more common format where people are just fighting and the matchmakers just match you up? Or do you kind of like, as I say, a tournament where you kind of like, well, this is my road to a title shot?
I think it's good in a way that you could lock in a tournament that they have to fight you, or there's no like dodging fights and things like that. It's set, dates are set and things like that. But I don't prefer it that much. I would prefer to just have a fight and go on from there and let matchmakers sort it out, or try get a fight with someone who I want to fight. I get it, but yeah, I'm not a big fan of it because sometimes the dates don't work out for me, or like it's just there. It's not. I'm not a big fan of it.
Fair play.
Oh, sorry. I would if they had a fights success like in succession in one night. I would do that.
Well, so you would want to fight like once, twice, 3 times in one night?
If I could do 2-3 fights in one night, I would do that.
Wow.
That's something I'm interested in. But
wow.
I don't think that they can do that.
Wow. That's crazy. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like, I always think there is, like, depends how much damage you take in the first fight, right? Like, so, because, I mean, your second fight, he might have got him out in, like, half a round, no damage, and you had like a 3-round barn burner, and all of a sudden you're suddenly like, I don't know if I should be fighting this guy. But let's flip the coin now. Your toughest battle, like when looking back at your battles, like where's one, and once again, I'm not saying your toughest loss or it could be a win, but like looking back and you're like, man, that was a tough one. That was a tough day in the office, I guess.
Yeah, it was probably my last fight. I fought Andrew Mills. Tough day in the office because it's a fight that I thought I should have won. he just, I don't know, he just kept coming back and kept coming forward. And even though like I dropped him early in the first round and I thought I could have finished him. It was just the fight that was like, that was mine for the taking, and he took it back away from me because of his, I don't know what it was that night. He just, he took it out of me, really. It was a hard fight. It's a fight I'd like to have back again, but
does it make it harder? Because as you say, it's a fight that you'd like to do again. Does it make it harder that the likelihood of that potentially happening is probably shrunk a little because that's the second time you fought him, right?
Yeah.
So like that was kind of your take back fight. And I will say like you totally improved because the first time he submitted you, so there was a finish there, where the last fight you took it to decision. So it was a grind. So I mean, it was a definite improvement. And as you say, I mean, there were definitely moments. I actually watched that second fight, and there were definitely moments like I had to watch it twice because at the beginning I was like, man, you were handling him for a good while, right? And it is. But like I always say, when it goes to judges' decisions, it's once again, you could have had 3 different judges the next day and they might have thrown it the other way. But is that what makes it a bit harder now too, is the fact that was a take-back fight or running it back, and now that you're, I guess, 2-0 to Andrew Mills, that basically you've got to let that one go? Yeah,
like it's a hard pill to swallow. It is. I definitely think I'm better than him still. Like even though I've lost twice to him, it's just I do think I'm better, but I just there's things I could do in that moment. There's things that I could improve on for future. But like it's shit. I need to get my wins back up, or just go and fight other people that are high up there and prove myself until maybe I'll get on a better position than he is, and then he call me out. So I'm not too worried about fighting him again. But I know that if it was to happen again, I'll say yes straight away. Yeah.
And talk about wins. I saw on your record as well, you've got 1 win slam, it says. Slam. Which I haven't actually seen before, because I would assume a slam would mean a knockout, right?
It was on brace. I think it was on brace in Canberra. I fought this guy, Jasper Dunphy. He was from Adelaide. He was like 1 or 2-0. And I was 2-2 or something at the time. It's actually a similar story to that first one with the shoulder break. I got him against the fence. I lifted him up high with a high crotch, but instead of turning him into the right way, I turned him the wrong way, and he posted out with his hand, and his elbow snapped, and he yelled straight away. I didn't even go any ground and pound or anything on him. I just like, poor bloke, man.
Yeah, you got to learn how to break for, right? And I guess another thing is, in an ideal world, I just want to know what's more satisfying to you, and only because you obviously come from the Gracie heritage. Do you prefer, and I know you've done both, you've submitted people, you've knocked people out, and you've gone to decision. And I assume decision isn't the most satisfying. So between knockouts or technical knockouts or submissions, what is more satisfying to you?
When it happens, of course, a knockout is like the best feeling in the world. Like I'm still yet to win a decision, by the way. So I haven't won a decision. If anything, from this question, I want to win a decision for once. I always get the bad.
You just got to slip the refs a 50 before.
Always get the bad. Like you just said, now you watched that Andrew Mills fight. In your honest opinion, like rounds wise, if you're scoring it yourself, what would you have thought?
Mate, like as I said, like I definitely early on in the fight, I definitely thought you had the better of him. I felt that towards the end, you may have slowed down a bit, and I mean, talking to Jamie Malarkey not last week, the week before, and we were talking about Alex's last title defense, and look, we're on two different pages here.
Yeah.
He was saying the judges are always going to look at the last rounds because it's the last thing they see. And I'm like, well, hang on a sec. They're handing in the scorecards at the end of every round. So to me,
that's right.
every round is where he was kind of like, no, the last rounds are more important than the first round. And I'm like, I don't know about that. I thought that, you know, looking at early on in that fight, I thought it was yours.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was that the gas tank started to sit in or whatever, but then he obviously started to grind his game back into it, right? So it's a tough one, and I'm not a judge. I'm not qualified to judge.
That's all right.
I literally sit and the way I always do it is I literally sit on the sidelines and I try to point everything. And that, the hard thing with that is as well is like, you know, people always at the end of the fight, they're like, oh, look at the statistics. This guy had more significant strikes than this person. I'm like, yeah, but a takedown's not a significant strike, right? So cage control is not a significant strike. So if you're going by those stats, then you're in a kickboxing match, right? So it's, and that's why I always say, and look, I had this discussion with Jim last episode, because obviously he's done refs for all organizations, and it's a hard one to do because it is so objective, right? Yeah. Like your judge could have been someone with a wrestling pedigree, right? And all of a sudden they're going to score those things a little higher than someone who would be with a kickboxing background, right? Just because you know that better, and so therefore you're going to score that a little. And I know it shouldn't be that way, but I feel like it is. It really is. And I mean, that's the whole problem as well with, you know, when they always talk about like where you know, you get the commissions get these boxing refs, right? And so a lot of the times boxing will be weighed more than some of the other stuff, and it's because generally speaking, the judges are from a boxing background. So it's a tough one, man. Like, as I said, like, I don't know. I would have probably edged it towards you.
Oh, really? Oh, no, look,
I would have edged it towards you, and only in the sense that when you were getting the better of him, I thought you did more damage.
Yeah.
Right? So if I was going to do the coin flip there, it would be on that. It would be like, listen, you had your moments, he had his moments.
Yeah.
So we're equal. But I felt like your moments were a little more damaging.
Yeah. If
that makes sense.
No, I get what you're saying. I'm not even after if you thought I won or lost, did you think I got a couple rounds? Because when it came to the judges' scorecards, is because I want to tell you about the judges' scorecards. One of the judges gave him 4 rounds and 1 round draw. So I didn't win a round on a judges' scorecards.
Yeah, but you're always going to get that, and I will once again I'll say that as well is no, you definitely got rounds. Yeah, you definitely got rounds in, but and this is the thing, once again, going back to each round being its own little thing, right? And I forgot who I had the conversation with before, but the you could have a say in a title fight, you could have a 45-50, and it could be a razor close fight, right? And you could have a 48-47, and there were blowouts.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like that end score. I think, and that's why I sometimes see people like, they'll go, you know, 46-49, and people be like, oh, he got robbed, like, you know, outcry this and that. And just because the score is so far apart doesn't actually mean that the fight was a blowout. It just means that every round was razor thin.
Yeah.
And he just did one thing extra, right? Like that's all that means. Like I never look at the total score at the end. Like at the end of the day, like as I say, like you could have 2 rounds where you blew him out. He has 3 rounds where he blows you out. So either way, it was just like, or you could have 5 rounds that are like this, but he just edges them out each time. And it was razor close right throughout the whole 5 rounds, right? So
I definitely don't believe that first round was close, even. Like, so I didn't get a round on one judge. It's just like, it's to see it after, it's very discouraging to think that even if I won another round, they weren't going to give it to me. That's what I was. That's what I was thinking. I think he probably did win the fight. Like, I don't like. It is a coin flip and whatever.
Once again, it depends. Like I thought when it went to the ground, he did have you down
for a while.
So once again, it depends how much weight you give on that. So it once again, what are we judging on? It's objective, right? Like,
it is,
and then it's like, are you one of those people that to beat the champ, you know?
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I had that sort of fight as well with Matt Vale. That was another hard fight, and it did go to split decision. So I had. Another one. I actually thought I won that fight. And another fight before that, I lost the split decision to someone that I definitely would have thought they'd give me the win on Super Fight. So I've been very unlucky with decisions. Every time it comes to a decision, I'm like, man, fuck, I'm not going to win this.
And that's why they say don't leave it in the hands of the judges.
That's right. And that's why I try never to. Like 8 wins, 8 finishes.
And I mean, look, for me, everyone likes the going back to the original question. Everyone likes the highlight reel knockout, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry.
But for me, I don't know. I like submissions, right? And the only reason I say that is everyone can get caught once in a while, right?
Yeah.
It happens in sparring. Like you'll slip one through, and everyone can get caught, and you hit one person in the right place at the right time, it's lights out. The reason I like submissions is you're physically making them give up. I like that, right? That's just me though. Like I like the fact that someone's got to say, or they black out, I guess, tap out before you black out. But majority of the time, them tapping out, that's not you getting a lucky shot. That's them.
They're giving the.
That's
quit,
them going, you beat me, right? Like there's no going around it.
Don't get me wrong, I do love that as well. I do. Okay, I got a submission on my last win. I got a nice guillotine, and I've won a few different submissions too. So I had an armbar from Mount in a fight with like a couple seconds to go in the round. That was one of the best feelings, and that was my first pro win. That was really good. But I've still never seen the footage to this day, but I'm not lying, I did it. Armbar from Mount.
And so looking forward, what's the plan for you? Like, are you looking at getting another couple of fights in this year, or are you more concentrating on fatherhood right now and looking at getting back maybe next year, or what's your kind of plans looking forward at the moment?
If it wasn't for COVID this year, I probably would have fought twice already. So I've been training. I'm there nearly every day, and my plan is to get a fight. I've been talking to Eternal MMA about getting me a fight, and they can't seem to come up with anything or anyone at the moment. It's hard because of the restrictions and quarantining, and the volume of guys right now. I don't know if people are training. So I actually almost took a fight in the beginning of the year before the outbreak, but I actually took the fight. I got offered on 10 days notice, and then they didn't want the fight in the end. The other guys that was training for a fight. So it's just like some people are tiptoeing around fights. Like, it's just like, I don't know what to do. I'll just keep training. Hopefully something comes up. Maybe something international if I can. But not right now because of the coronavirus situation. But my plan is to fight. I'm 29, not getting any younger. I need to, step it up, jump on the world stage.
That's the tough one, right? And especially in this sport, it's like 1 year out of your career it's crazy. Like it's really crazy. Like more so than basketball, rugby, whatever. Like 1 year in a fight career is a massive deal. I mean, internationally is a bit hard at the moment. I hear that they're obviously doing a few fights, Queensland still, from what I hear. I spoke to someone last week. They're having now fights again in New Zealand. However, you have to be in New Zealand, so that kind of counts us out. But speaking of which, so because we are going to start rounding it off pretty soon, so just talking about your team and your teammates as well. Yeah. Jacob just got a signing. Was that left field? And I only say that I'm not saying like does he deserve it or not, but like if there was one moment in time where I thought UFC wouldn't be signing new people, it would be right now because of the COVID, right? Like, was it something that was in the works for a long time? Do you know much about that? Like how that all went down?
I know a bit about it. Like I know that they've had their eyes on him for a bit too. He's been presented to the UFC a couple of times, and Izzy as well. I would have thought Izzy would have made it already by now, but he's just on. He'd be next. So they he went over with Rob on his last fight to Fight Island, and our guys told him, you know what, get ready for a fight. You can step in if anyone pulls out. We'll show that we're keen. Jacob trains all year, every day anyway. Even if you want him to rest, he doesn't rest. So he was always in the scene, always in the back scene of it. No one really knows because he just doesn't really talk about it. He's a very shy guy. But yeah, I was surprised that they gave him the contract in the end, but I was not surprised because he deserves it. He definitely does.
And that's what I mean. Like, I'm not saying anything about whether he deserves it or not. I just thought the timing of it is kind of crazy. Like right now, it's kind of like, as you say, I mean, we just had Alex go over and Rob go over, but like, typically speaking, now they're back in Vegas and they're doing all these fights with the American fighters, and it's like, then suddenly it just pops up, we've signed this Australian fighter, and I was like, what's going on there? Like, the only thing I can kind of think of is when they go back to Fight Island, maybe they'll match him up with someone. But it was just the timing of it. So it was never that I didn't think he deserved it or anything. No. It was just literally when that post, it just came out of left field. It was like, Jacob signs with the UFC. And I'm like, when did that happen? Right? Like, when did that happen? It was just like kind of weird. Last question though on your team as well. Robert, obviously he's come back. He's looking happy again.
Yeah.
As a training partner, because the original rumor after, and I was down there for Melbourne. It was actually a hard one for me as well. I was filming for the UFC,
and I was there as well.
And they put me in his corner, as the behind the scenes for that Thrill and Agony stuff. And so my whole thing was like I had to stay on the family, right? So that one was tough for me because obviously, his wife was there and when things went a little pear-shaped, like I kind of was at that. I was in that moment. I was in that moment and I was kind of like, dude, right? I was like, do I do the human thing and turn away, or do I do what I'm getting paid to do? And I ended up doing it. Mind you, when you watch that Thrill and Agony, I was really happy with the way they used that footage, I think it represented her well as well. So at the time, I remember I felt bad. I just felt bad. I was like, I can't believe I'm even doing this. But then afterwards, I'm like, you know what? It painted the right picture. It really did. But then after that, obviously, he went on a little bit of a hiatus. And I know that the initial rumor was that, there was a bone marrow transplant for the daughter, and
all bullshit,
right? And then Rob came out and said, "No, I don't even know where that rumor started. It's all bullshit." And then he talked about that he just felt a little burnt out. He was talking about running sand dunes on Christmas Day or something, and he was just like, I'm done. As a training partner, could you see that? Like before the fact, like could you see that he was kind of burnt out for a moment there?
Yeah, like the feeling at training was very intense. A lot of pressure, man. Especially, I think there was a lot of pressure before he lost to Israel. not just from like our side, there's coaches and training partners but like from Australia and the world. He's pulled out of 2 big fights, and in Melbourne was supposed to be. I think he was more so just trying to get there than he was trying to win the fight. So, even the last 6 weeks of his training camp, I'm one of his closest training partners, and I never even saw him because he's on his own doing some fitness, doing pads, doing other stuff that it's going to keep him away from getting injured or keep him away from whatever, like he had any issues, you know. So, it was more about trying to get there than anything. And then he loses, and then it's like even more pressure because now he's on the losing. Like, you're only as good as your last win, really. And I've been on the end of that. It's like the camp, the feeling it's shit after. You want to get it back. It's more serious, you know. You start questioning things. Maybe, I don't know, from his personal, like how he actually felt, but I can relate.
I guess what I'm trying to say, like, you know, leading up to fights, you always have people in there like, this has been the best camp I've had, and it's kind of like every fighter's going to say, because you're not going to go in there going, I've had a terrible camp, right? But I'm just saying, like, in hindsight now, do you feel like the energy levels were down? Like, could you feel that as a training partner, that you know, something? Yeah. I won't even say something wasn't right, because it's not like, you know, there were personal issues or anything. It was just, when you burn out sometimes. And as I say, right now he's looking re-energized. So, like, you know, I'm not even trying to say he's made excuses. I'm just saying, like, could you feel that energy that, like, man, he's dipping a little low now?
Yeah. Like before he just sat away and all of that sort of stuff, you could see just a bit, I don't know, like he just didn't want to be there as much. The feel wasn't as good. All I could say is that, like, since coming back as well, then it's when you realize the difference of his attitude and stuff, because he's so much like more. He was so much more at ease this time, going into the fight with Till. Like, he just like another day, and he was happy to be there, and overall, like, he felt really comfortable, and he was confident in that he was going to win, or I don't even think he even cared. Like, he was just happy to be there.
Yeah, and Till one was a good showing, man. Like, the Till fight was really good, and his next one's a tough one too. I'm not going to lie, that one's
Canyoneer.
That's a tough fight.
They say I'm like Canyoneer, so I'll be a good training partner for him.
Oh, well, maybe they'll take you to Fight Island this time, and then you can get the signing as well. So yeah, I guess, unless you want to bring something up, you know, I do want to finish it up now. But before I kind of get you away, we've got fights coming up this weekend. Mm-hmm. Main event is DC versus Stipe for the trilogy, and it's no big news. It's DC's retirement fight.
Yeah.
How do you see that one going down? Who's your pick, and how do you see it play out?
Who I want to win is DC. Who I think might win is Stipe, because I don't know. I just I see DC is a bit on his way out. He's been knocked out a couple of times now, even though Stipe's been knocked out. But I don't know. I think Stipe's going to win it, even though I would like DC to win.
You don't think DC is going to rely on his wrestling and just take that fight down as quickly as possible and then just grind it out?
Stipe can wrestle too. Stipe can wrestle. So, look, if he does and pulls it off, it'll be, you know, like, it'll be great. I just think Stipe is probably a bit going better right now than DC is.
Cool. And then obviously Rob's last lost, Izzy. He's now defending the title against Costa.
Yeah.
How do you see that fight play out?
And
who you're rooting for on that one?
It's another one that I don't know too much who's going to win. I think, if I'm guessing, it'll be Adesanya that wins, but I hope Costa knocks him out, because I don't really like that guy.
Fair play. And I have to say, Costa's another Rick action, right? Like, I remember being over in Vegas at the PI, and I seen him hit pads, like, with his coaches, and I just looked at him, I'm like, there's no way.
Yeah, that should be illegal to be that big.
I'm like, that guy's like a light heavyweight.
Yeah.
At minimum, like, heavyweight. Like, he's massive.
Yeah, I know.
Like, he's literally massive. I don't even know how he makes weight. Like, he's another one that I just don't know how he makes weight. But yeah, that'll be an interesting one. I think It's weird because you go Izzy. I would have normally said if it's a knockout, it'll go Costa. If it's a points thing, I think Izzy outdoes him. But you know, like Izzy has come out and shown that he can put people to the ground as well. So it's.
I think he'll be trying to do sort of what he done with Romero, similar like type of thing. But this time Costa will be actually going for him, so he's got a lot more to worry about. But I still, I'm leaning towards Adesanya winning, but I hope he doesn't.
Okay, fair play. And then the last one, which is the one that kind of like, I don't even know if it's the one that everyone's been waiting for. It is now. I was really wanting to see Khabib versus Tony. But obviously Justin beat Tony and here we are in September, I think they're fighting. How do you see the Khabib-Justin Gaethje fight?
I love both of these guys. I feel like the fans would want to see Khabib maybe lose one, or just the underdog. But I think Khabib wins. I think he'll win. I think Khabib will win. I'm still a big fan of Khabib too. I'm really like growing to like Gaethje. He's got the style that I like too. His old style, the real brawler style. So
see, but that's what makes him dangerous now, because he was that brawler.
Yeah. And
I always say he threw caution to the wind, and you know, sometimes it didn't work out for him. Where with that Tony fight, he really showed now he's a more strategic fighter, right?
Very impressive fight.
And that, to me, that's the unknown in that fight. It's kind of like if it was the Gaethje of old, the one that you like, that I like, I do think that Khabib would have somehow implemented his game plan and it would be done. But this new Gaethje is just it's the unknown right now. Like, I really don't know, right? And Gaethje is he's a good fighter, man. He's a good wrestler.
He's got everything, yeah. So I think he shouldn't be as much underdog as what people would think, because Khabib and undefeated and whatever. Gaethje's got all the tools to put this guy away. I think if anyone could do it, it's him. After seeing that fight against Ferguson, I think he's more likely than Ferguson would have been. So, yeah, it's a good fight, that one.
No, definitely agree. But it's one of those cases, as earlier on when we were talking about knocking conspiracy or whatever, everyone's undefeated until they're defeated, right? Yeah. Like, there's that tipping point. So, but I mean, look, he's a hard one. It's weird because everyone knows what he's going to do, but yet no one's been able to figure out how to stop it. Yeah, so it's not like he's a difficult fighter to figure out in the sense of like what his game plan is. He'll tell you right now what his game plan is. It's just people just
he's just that good at it. Yeah,
he's that good at it. And that's where I think DC might come in too, because I know Stipe is a good wrestler, but I just think DC, when it comes to wrestling, he's on another level as well. And I think where he messed it up on the last one is he tried to strike with DC. He really did, and I just think that didn't work out for him. But on that note, I am going to wrap it up. I'm going to let you go back to the family.
Back to the family.
But look, for people that want to reach out to you, whether it be fans that want to holler at you, or even some promotions if they've got a fight coming up, and we're looking at Eternal for this one because you said you were trying to reach out to them. So if anyone's trying to reach out to you, what's the best way of them getting in contact with you? Or is there also a way, I guess, that people can come and train with you?
Yeah, so my Instagram, or through my Instagram, or my Facebook. My Instagram's dynamite.davidfrancis. You can look me up there or message me on Facebook. For training wise, you can always message up at the gym, because it's sort of like an invite type of thing. But I'm happy to speak to anyone that wants to come down and try train with us, or any pros that are looking for some training and sparring. What was I saying?
No, that was pretty much it. I was just saying how can people reach out to you?
Dynamite.davidfrancis is my TikTok as well, so you can go have a look.
And so on that, when can we see the next dance?
Man, I haven't been practicing lately. I've got to get back in the rhythm. we'll see. We'll see. Maybe I'll do something over the weekend, and I'll let you know.
Well, there you have it. As I always say, like, I really do appreciate the time when you guys come in. You know, I mean, it's a little easier these days because people have got a little bit of time, but not yourself. You're working 7 days a week. But no, I really do appreciate the time. I hope that we got some fight news coming up soon, and when we do, we'll get you back in. But until then, we are done.
I'm a